All right, welcome to the Park and Recreation Commission regular meeting, November 16th, 2023. The time is 6:03 p.m. Becky, can you please call roll?
Yes, Commissioner Cabrales. I know she is absent today. Commissioner Emerson. Looks like she's absent so far, but she may be coming. Chair Gutierrez.
Here.
Commissioner Pasternak.
Here.
And Commissioner Sandoval.
Here.
All right, thank you.
You. All right, I guess we're gonna go into agenda item number 1, approval of regular meeting minutes, but first just welcome our new commissioner, Mr. Pasternak. Happy to have you. Okay, so are there any comments from the minutes from last meeting from the commission? Questions? All right, can I get a motion to approve in the second?
Yeah.
It's gonna be active tonight.
Commissioner Sandoval, motion to approve the minutes. Commissioner Pasternak.
Yeah, it's great. All right, Becky.
All right, let's see here. Chair Gutierrez,
Yes.
Commissioner Pasternak,
Yes.
and Commissioner Sandoval.
Yes.
All right, motion approved. Thank you.
You. Kidoki, we don't have anyone in the public here. Do we have anyone in the public online?
Didn't see anyone, and I was.
Oh, are we doing that?
Yeah, so I was just
That's what we
gonna mention, the city has recently made some changes to how we accept public comment, and on an interim basis, we're no longer accepting any public comment in an online environment. So we're only accepting public comment from individuals here in the room. Still, we've been experiencing a lot of Zoom bombing incidents with some really severe hate speech in the region. So that's a temporary decision that's been made. So if there is anyone online, they're welcome to chime in. They can always submit written public comment in advance of the meeting, and we would share that if you receive it. I did not receive any public comment prior to this meeting.
Thank you. We'll close public comments. Special presentations, none. Is that correct? Everything else is under number 3, other agenda items. So we're gonna be, looks like receiving some reports. And let's go with our first one, the annual youth enrichment report.
Yeah, real quick, I'm gonna let you both introduce yourself, but happy that you're both here, and it's actually, I think it's been more than a year since we had an opportunity to share information about both our youth enrichment program as well as our childcare programs directly. I think, I shared some updates along the way and some of my comments, but I'm really excited to have Kelly Albrecht here and Jason Fong here. I'm gonna let you both introduce yourselves now so that we can take care of that. Yeah.
I'm Kelly Albrecht. I'm in charge of childcare programming and senior web supervisor.
Jason Fong, program coordinator, and I'm in charge of the youth enrichment program. Nice to meet you.
And, I think both Kelly and Jason are involved in both of these programs.
We support each other as best as we can.
But Jason, I'll turn it over to you. I'm gonna go ahead and just queue up the presentation here and share my screen. And then I'll turn it over to you.
I do this. I have a share screen.
Okay. Becky, can you see that okay? Becky, can you see that okay?
Yes, I can. I was having trouble finding my mute button. Yeah, I can see it great. Thanks.
Okay, perfect.
Jason, show me.
Oh, yeah,
Let me just
I can
put it
take
on
it.
here.
That's all. What's the down arrow? Good.
So, yeah.
All right. So, welcome new commissioners. I don't know if we met Robert. Did we meet the last, maybe a year ago or two? I can't even remember. COVID's kind of
I
ruined
think it was
that,
online.
right?
It's online.
It's online too. That's all. It's all. So I'm so happy to be here in person.
Yeah.
I love the in person. But just a background about the youth enrichment program. Well, we started the program in 1995. My predecessors started the program in 1995. We started off on a few schools. just kind of testing it out, seeing what the need was for, families to provide extracurricular activities since the PTAs or PTOs were having difficulties, developing on their end. So we kind of swooped in and started creating, offering, sports programs were like the big highlight in the very beginning. And then from there, we saw the need, so we expanded to more schools. So we're, 2008, we did Sun Valley, Coleman, Mary Silvera, and Vallecito. So there were 4 schools. And then after that, we decided to see if the older generation, kind of the middle school kids, were interested. And again, since the schools at Davidson couldn't supply, the instructors or the coaches, we went out and we found, volleyball coaches, basketball coaches. We hired in-house PE teachers to teach these activities to the students. So it was a great partnership. And then from 2010 to 2022, we drastically changed. I came on board in 2016. And so then there were two of us. Well, prior to that, there were 2 staff members that were running the program. But just, figuring out new fun activities for the students and providing them on school campuses. And then currently, we're still at the 6 schools. We're at Coleman, Glenwood, Sun Valley here in the San Rafael City School District, and then Lucas Valley, Mary Silvera, and Vallecito. Post-COVID numbers have increased. There was a challenge there for a while. We shut down programming for well over a year. Then once we were able to get back on campuses, that was the first thing that they did was let's get some more activities for these kids. Currently, I'm offering we're serving 511 students spread out. So that's roughly, 8 kids per, class on average. My biggest program is 40 kids at Lucas Valley doing a theater program. We're doing Best of Disney. So the kids are actually writing their own scripts and doing their costumes and all the sets. So it's pretty amazing. Then our lowest programming is around 4. Sometimes some of the language programs, some of the not so mainstream subject matter. But we're hopefully developing that and continuing to provide those programs for those students that are interested. We're currently facing some potential school use, facility use issues with some of our schools, specifically, Coleman and Mary Silvera. The need for classroom use space during the daytime for teachers and so forth has expanded. Generally, we try to target using art rooms and the multi-purpose rooms, something that we're not impeding on an actual teacher's personal classroom space. But we're definitely having those conversations with school administrative staff and finding alternative ways to use outdoor spaces or combine use spaces with other childcare programs on site. Revenue's been stable, again, due to the lack of classes being offered at Mary Silvera this year. Definitely, I'm personally not happy with my revenue. I'd love to be at 100%, but we're within reason, for the program to be sustainable.
Jason, can I just add to that?
Sure.
For a second? I think as we're rebounding from COVID and we're seeing increased enrollment, part of that is resulting in some increased revenue. I think our goal for these programs is always to serve as many kids as we can. Our goal isn't necessarily to make money with the programs, but there is an expectation that for this type of a program model, that we can strive for a self-supporting program. And so the cost recovery here is fee-based. We are charging fees to participate in these programs. And so, like Jason said, I think that our goal is to try to cover our expenses here, but not necessarily to try to drive in a huge profit margin for these programs. And I would say that I just want to thank you for all the work you put into that in the last couple of years, because there are a lot of challenges on the financial side. And I think 2020, fiscal year 23, which we just completed, I really represented a positive year for us. And I think you've done a really good job of kind of rebounding out of COVID and stuff. So thanks for
And then just a few things, again, just for the conclusion, we've been supporting thousands of families and we get tons of positive feedback from the community that our classes are really desirable, not only for the education aspect, but also, the support of, an hour after school, and then the continual partnerships with our contract instructors in the school districts has always been strong. I'm currently onboarding 9 new instructors. So coming out of COVID, everybody continues to, and so I'm picking those ones that we don't have. For example, newest one I'm really excited about is it's called Funflix. It's stop motion animation and more digital stuff, with the scratch and the programming, which we were kind of lacking. Commissioner Cabrales used to teach scratch for us over at Coleman back in the day, which is pretty fun. Which is cool. And then again, competition, I'm definitely still have that on my radar to increase programming to the best of our ability. And then looking ahead, again, I'd love to be 100% cost recovery, and then some if possible to help, our fellow staff members. Questions or comments?
Thank you.
I guess like on the facility use competition point, like how are we gonna approach that? How are we gonna address it?
I think I'm gonna need Kelly and Craig's support to get with the district leaders. So how it works with me is I'm a liaison with my contract instructors, and then I request use space at both school districts. Here in Santa Fe, it's Facilitron.
Yeah.
Right, which is a nightmare. But
I just had to use it.
you just have to use it. Yeah. Because everything's all off, and depending on the district, it's not user friendly. But again, Carmen, who Carmen is, me and her, we communicate via email on use of space. But the issue that we're facing is that when I request use of space, it's not trickling down within the school districts. It's more of me saying, hey, I just did this. Then now I'm requesting it from you again. And then at the secretary or the admin level at each school, it's then trying to convince the teachers, hey, we've got these classes, can you let us use your space? And so, hopefully with the support of everybody, we'll set up those meetings and continue that conversation of, is the need there? Do you guys want us on campus? And we'd love to continue to provide the services that we've been providing for many years.
Jason and I just had a conversation about this the other day, and just to kind of add to that, I think, what we're seeing right now is that we still do have good access to space. We've got a great relationship and partnership with the schools, and just like there probably always will be, there's always just logistical challenges, making sure that we're communicating clearly about when we're going to get into classrooms, what the needs are. But I think in the bigger picture, also really just being adaptive to what the community needs are. I think in general, we view our programs as helping to fill gaps, to make sure that the community has access to programs that are in need. And so I think, we have experienced changes to the school's facilities. I think we shared with you in some previous meetings that schools are going through some extensive capital improvements. And I think looking ahead, we're aware that could impact our ability to use certain spaces at certain facilities. So I think, this year might be a little different than maybe what we're talking about in future years, but I think with good communication with the schools and some planning and really understanding, what are the needs for programming, I am hopeful that we can respond to that and make sure we continue to offer these programs, which really have been valuable, really have been needed to supplement some of the other after school and enrichment programs already offered by other providers.
And I'd love to offer more, it's always the more, right? And then if I, we have our standards that are continually filled, right? It's just that challenge of like, okay, I've got this really great one, but you have space for.
Yeah.
On the campus.
One question, one comment. So, as far as the money that comes in, does that fund also the marketing of those, or is that a separate budget?
That's part of this.
It's part of the budget, yeah, yeah.
And then do we get community involvement to find out what types of things that kids are interested in learning from the parents or from those kids?
I used to do surveys, but I wasn't getting as much feedback, so
Right.
now it's kind of like it's a one-off, like I'll get feedback, hey, this is a great program. But, specifically now I'm dealing with that at Mary Silvera, since Mary Silvera families are seeing what I'm offering at Vallecito and Lucas Valley, which are neighboring classes,
right,
when they go online. And they're like, why can't we? So it's my challenge to express that to them. I'm working on it. But I need buy-in from your PTA, PTO, as well as your school administration. Because it's difficult to convince an instructor to go to a place, bank on a day to teach and so forth, and then nobody arrives or signs up, and there's interest really isn't there. So our goal is, hopefully we can partner up with those larger groups that are interested, and get that commitment. Last year at Coleman, I revamped every program. The prior year, it was the same situation. There was lack of communication, lack of, being able to offer anything. As soon as we got buy-in from, now every class is filled. So I'm hoping, crossing my fingers that next school year will be the same, same situation. And I'll approach it the same way we did it before.
Oh, I was gonna say, is there any like school-wide policies, like mixed use policies or anything that could be implemented at the school level that could support the programs? Or is there an example for that in any of the schools? Because I'm just thinking, I'm taking it a little bit wider, like thinking about being able to go use the facility for play during the day, not just for your, activities, but for the community activities. Do any of the San Rafael City schools have any policies like that on the books?
It wasn't necessarily a policy, but I do believe.
I
that
mean,
it's
in
open-
practice,
the
but I'm just saying, but a
yeah.
policy might help,
Yeah,
Yeah, right now, I'm not aware of anything. We don't have any joint use agreements between the cities.
Yeah.
yeah, no, there's no joint use.
I think looking back historically, there are some examples where the city has had those types of use agreements on a very kind of narrow
Mhm.
basis. That's something I'd be interested in exploring. I think that there are some good opportunities there. And I'll share one example of conversation that's happening right now with San Rafael City Schools. Catherine, the director, and I attended some meetings over the last year, revolving around the community schools model. Are any of you familiar with that program? It's a new state grant that San Rafael City Schools have received. It's a 5-year grant term, and they're receiving, don't quote me on the number, but I think it's about $7.5 million. And the focus, emphasis of this program is to really provide a full spectrum of services to students and families. And there's 4 key pillars to that program. One of those pillars is youth enrichment and after-school programs. And so I attended a meeting, I think it was actually about 2 weeks ago, with a whole bunch of community stakeholders where they talk about how do we have access to schools? What are the different services that are provided? And right now they're really focusing the funding on implementing family and wellness centers, as well as having more counseling services in the schools. But they're expecting that in future rounds, they may be able to focus more heavily on things like, focus on these other pillars that are part of the program. So I know there's interest in these conversations community-wide. And I think we're also interested in these conversations. I think that, we really value these types of programs and how we gain access to the schools. I think Jason's done a great job of nurturing those relationships, but having some type of an agreement to clarify that, I think could potentially be helpful.
Yeah, and I think where I'm also coming from is just from the recreation space, and since COVID, a lot of the schools are now shut down. And before that, kids could go play on campus, and that's not quite the same as it was before, and so that's something that I would tack on to any kind of policy mixed use agreement, is that, the school could be open and available for kids to play. Yeah, we can.
Yeah, I second that. I know, former director Andrade Wax had talked about having a joint use agreement, or rather the lack of a joint use agreement in this district in our city, and that's, yeah, the fencing made it painfully clear that that was missing. As well as something like this. Definitely.
Yeah.
I just had one comment, and you've already kind of mentioned it, is to definitely reach out to PTOs. It sounds like maybe you did it, Coleman. They do have a mouthpiece and definitely can help promote. My son's in Spanish class right now and wants it. I think there was a big gap in the COVID years of the families who knew that these programs happened and families that didn't.
Yeah.
And the more you can just keep, using every tool at their campuses. I meet families all the time who didn't know, who don't know that they're there. And the PTOs can definitely help there. I can put you in touch with any that you have not yet met.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, that's great.
Any other comments, questions? Thank you. All right,
Thank you so
I
much.
think we're supposed to officially receive this report. I think we are. I need a motion to receive this report. Or I'm requesting. I motion that we receive the report. Thank you. Second. All right. Thank you. Becky, give the vote.
All right. Commissioner Emerson. Chair Gutierrez. Commissioner Pasternak
Yes.
and Commissioner Sandoval.
Yes.
All right, motion approved. Thank you.
All right, next agenda item, our annual childcare report.
That's me, I'm not.
Sure.
Second, but I have to go away so I can
See it.
see the screen. There we go. Oh, I moved too fast. There we go.
All right, I'm ready. Okay, so the childcare division, we've been serving kids since 1963. Believe that. The first classroom was here at B Street Community Center. We had approximately like 24 students at the far end of the community center. And then from 1974 to 2001, we moved up to the Short School campus on Moraine Street. That's when I first started working for the city back in 87, when I was just out of high school. And I worked at Short School. So anyway, we had a preschool program and a school age program. All the kids were busing to us during that time. Then the late 1990s, when we expanded the program at Santa Fe City Schools and Millipede School District and provided portables on all the school campuses and provided on-site childcare programming. And then in 1998, we had a school age program at the Pickleweed Children's Center. We expanded that programming to add a California State preschool program that is still running today. And then in 2000, I don't know if you guys got a chance to ever see Kirkside, but that's when Kirkside was built. Feel very lucky to have like a standalone, most beautiful building, and that's where my office is in Jason. And that's where the preschool programming is in school age. So we have 6 school age sites, 2 preschools. In the school age program, we serve 485 children. That's serving Lucas Valley, oh my goodness, Lucas Valley, Mary Silvera, Vallecito, and then Coleman, Glenwood, and Brookside. And then we have preschool programming. We serve 68 children at Pickleweed Preschool, next door to the Borough Center, and then about 36 children at Parkside Preschool. We have 25 permanent, part-time, full-time staff, and about 45 times seasonal. And I do want to note that's our Parkside Preschool, one of the morning classes, graduating class. And then I do want to highlight that is Trish at Vallecito Children's Center. She's the site director there, and she's been there. She just got her 40-year award of serving the city in 40 years. Pretty amazing. And she runs this spectacular program on site at Vallecito. All right, next one, school age programming. So we've increased our enrollment to pre-pandemic numbers. We're full at all the sites with active waiting lists. We average anywhere between about 62 to 70, and then my high center about 95 a day. And then moving on, in the childcare field, we've struggled to recruit people in the childcare instructor 1 and 2. I would say within the last 10 to 15 years, a lot of people are not moving into the ECE field. They're not studying child development in school, or they're going straight to being a teacher and not working in childcare. So we've really struggled filling those full-time positions. So we've backfilled with temp seasonal, and which moved our programming just this year in September 1. We moved to a license exempt model, which kind of gives us more flexibility of hiring temp seasonal high school age children, and it's been really successful. The kids love the young kids working, and then we have our senior staff working mixed together, and it's a great model. Our kids camp runs in the summertime. It's really popular, and we served about 1,600 children just this last summer. And then, if you could believe it, 2023, Craig reminded me, this is our 60th anniversary of providing childcare services. Amazing. So still school age programming, I kind of wanted to highlight what's going on this year for school age programming at the Coleman Center. Sierra Falls City Schools is moving to a 1 after school program on campus model for next school year, 24-25. The Bay Area Community Resources, BACR, currently runs an after school program there along with our Coleman Center. So this year is kind of our transition year, because starting next year, they're going to move to 1 provider on campus. So this will be our last school year at Coleman. And we've actually been there for 40 years. The Coleman campus used to bus over at Short School, and then they've been on site ever since. So right now I have temp seasonal, 3 to 4 temp seasonal, and I have 3 permanent teachers that work for me that will be assigned to other openings in the division starting this summer. And then at Glenwood Children's Center, a school age program out there, we just moved into an agreement with Sierra Falls City Schools to continue to run our after school program in a blended model. So we're serving full fee children with ELOP funding. I'm not sure if you're familiar with it. It's called the Expanded Learning Opportunity Program, funded children. I think it's run through Sierra Falls City Schools. They fund these children for after school care, and we're doing a blended model at the Glenwood site. This is really supporting Sierra Falls City Schools. The direction they're moving in, it's just they want 1 provider on every elementary school campus in the district. So we've expanded our enrollment at Glenwood from 55, and we're serving around 93 children after school. So it's quite large. Part of the ELOP funding is really offering a more academic assistance in our program, and then obviously still doing our play-based model, recreational base. So it's working so far. We just started it this fall, so it's going really well. Okay, preschool programming. Parkside Preschool, our enrollment has declined these last couple of years with the transitional kindergarten development. And so all children, I'm sure most aware that turning 5 before April 2nd could access TK programming, which is on all the elementary school sites in Miller Creek and Sierra Falls. So it has taken away from our 4.5, 5-year-olds in our preschool program. So enrollment has declined. So we're transitioning into next fall, taking younger children, about 2.5, 3s, and low 4s. And we're licensed for 48, so it's a smaller program. Currently, right now, we have 36 preschoolers. And then the Pickaway Preschool is quite large, very successful, and it is a California state funded preschool program. We have 68 3 and 4-year-olds at that program. It's part day. We have 2 classes in the AM, 2 classes in the PM. All families have to be income eligible for the program. And the team out there is amazing. We just had our state review this week. We just had our exit meeting today, and they scored excellent. And she was really impressed with the program and the team that's working out there. So it was It was great, kind of perfect timing to announce that today. And then there are some challenges out there in facilities. Our portables are very old. And just this year, we had to demolish one of our portable buildings. It was one we didn't, those are kitchen portables, so it wasn't used for children, but we did serve our snacks out of there. So that was demolished just this year, and we have 2 existing portables and a portable bathroom still there. And obviously, long-term planning includes hopefully replacing those portables. This is our childcare program Fund 208, we call it. It's all our school age sites and administration budget and Parkside Preschool. We did fairly well ending fiscal year 23, positive 146,000, which is great. We're gonna start building that reserve fund that was taken away from us during the COVID pandemic. So that's really exciting. That's the Fund 208, and then we move into 260 fund, which is our People Week Preschool Fund. So we have our California State Preschool contract. We also receive money from First Five of Marin, County of Marin. Safety net funding is through Marin Child Care Council. And then any funding we don't have, we do use our available fund balance that we have for our California State Preschool contract. And that is it. Thank you for our programming. Do you have any questions?
What's can you expand on the income eligibility point before we?
Sure. Yes, for the California State Preschool, they have to be low income in order to qualify for the program. So we take in their incomes in the summer months and their range according to their income, and it's the lowest income gets in first. And so that's how they do the income eligible. It's all state mandated.
I saw that the portables are coming in 2025. They're being replaced.
Well,
Are they
we're
full up like that
we're going to
suggested that?
I think the planning's gonna start. We're hoping. We're really hoping.
Okay.
Sure, maybe I'll share. a
Yeah,
little more
maybe an
context. So, you know, we have some aging facilities out at People Week. I don't know how old the buildings are, but I would say, you know, more than a couple dozen years old for all the portable buildings that are out there. And so it's not, it's terribly surprising that we've run into some issues, and one of them over the winter when we had the really strong rains had a lot of water intrusion. So we did some inspections, and we look at it and realized that the cost to repair the building was just gonna be exorbitant. So it was recommended that we essentially just tear it down, you know, from a safety perspective. So that's what we did, and on an interim basis, we replaced it with a little bit smaller temporary portable unit that is out there. We've been exploring, well, what do we do next? And I think the big hurdle for us is funding and developing a plan for what would go in place of this building. So we want to do it right. I think what we'd like to do is find a more permanent or semi-permanent solution. But on an interim basis, the unit that we have out there is generally meeting our needs. I think the biggest loss has been access to a kitchen. So that's been a challenge. I think the staff have done a great job of working around that challenge, but that's something we'd really like to get back. We have been in touch with schools. One of our thoughts was, could we potentially take the portable unit at Pullman that we're no longer going to be able to use, move it over. Our facilities crew assessed that, and kind of a similar situation. They said that it's old, you know, by the time we updated HVAC systems, did all the work to move it, the cost we would sink into that. We don't even know if it would be level, you know, like level on one site is not level on another site. So they recommended against it, and the school kind of echoed that sentiment. SRCS had 5 other units that our facilities crew just evaluated this week to see maybe one of them could work. Kind of the same thing, you know, aging units that we just don't think are viable for much longer. And so I think what we're looking at now is what would be our available budget, and what would we want to design in this location. I think the next step for us is going to be to take on some architectural design to really figure out what makes sense, what's going to meet program needs and best serve the kids at this location. I think that could take up to a year. And I think, so we're looking to potentially replace the unit that's there with a slightly larger unit that might better meet program needs for about a year. We do have access to some of those. Our Department of Public Works has started to look at that and see if they could place something else there. And then, slightly longer term, hopefully install some different facilities that would work better. The big question there is it just the one that was demoed, or do we want to take on a more comprehensive project there? Obviously, when you look at it more comprehensively, there's going to be more cost for infrastructure, site design, and then the buildings themselves. And how would we pay for it? Right now we have a limited budget available, and the city has to take a look comprehensively at all of the different building and facility needs and try to stack this up compared to a lot of other aging infrastructure. So, it's all part of the puzzle. We're looking at it, but just don't have a solid answer for which direction we need to go.
How many buildings are being utilized right now?
Currently, there's 2 classroom buildings, portables, and then a portable bathroom. So we have three nice sized buildings.
And there was.
And then there was a
large.
third kind of smaller for the kitchen and counseling services and specialists.
Just one other question on the ELOP, is
Yeah.
that, at Glenwood, or I guess that program in general, is
Sure.
it all done with students?
Correct.
Okay.
So it's all done with students and they have ELOP funding at Pullman, Glenwood, and Sun Valley. Right now, and San Pedro's.
Mhm.
So it's huge. It's a huge grant for them.
Use different than, because we don't have an after school program at Sun Valley.
Oh, the Y, sorry.
Oh, so it can be applied like in
Yes,
whatever
correct. So the
program.
Y is
Okay.
running it similar to
Got it.
our
Thank
program
you.
at Glenwood. Correct. And it's expanding everywhere. All the
Yeah.
districts are getting
Yeah.
that money. So Nevada's been just received a big grant as well. Yeah.
All right, if there are any more questions or comments, let's get a motion.
Can I make one quick comment?
Yes, please.
Sorry, I talked
It's
about
okay.
it. Yeah, I just want, I was doing a little research. I was looking at the childcare team and Kelly mentioned it, but I just wanted to. This number kind of struck me with those 25 full-time employees. There's more than 427 years of combined experience in that team. That number really just jumped
Wow.
out at me.
Didn't know that.
Yeah, right. I thought that was really incredible. And I think it really speaks to, the work that Kelly's done, because she's kept an intact team, really retained them. And they've been committed to community for many, many years. And I just think that that's a really incredible statistic to think about, so if any of you have kids or know anyone that has kids in San Rafael, they've probably gone through one of these programs at one point or another.
Now we're hiring everyone that.
We can-
I went through the program.
Yeah.
I went through the program.
Yeah, he's a
Yeah.
hire.
I started working for Kelly when I was 15. Yeah.
And so I just wanted to say thanks to all them and make sure that they get some acknowledgement or recognition for that. And also just to acknowledge, the last couple of years have been tough with COVID and all of the changes that we're experiencing to community need and to some of the recent changes like Glenwood and Pullman. I think that Kelly and the team have really handled some of these with grace, and I think the positive intent to make sure kids get the best possible program, the highest quality program is always shines through, and to make sure we do it equitably in the community in a way that best serves all of the students. I think that's something that's really important to the schools. It's important to us, and that's why we are looking at all of these structural changes in a way that I think is going to really turn out well for everyone. But it's still tough, right? It's tough to work at a site for an extended period of time and know that we're no longer going to be working at that site. And so Pullman and Glenwood, I think their teams have have a lot of emotion around that, understandably, but are really doing a great job with navigating it. And so just again, just kind of shout out and thanks to you. Sorry, I just had to make sure that was.
It was nice meeting you.
Okay, requesting a motion to accept the report, the annual childcare report. All right,
Second.
All right. Commissioner Emerson,
yes,
Chair Gutierrez, Commissioner Pasternak,
Yes.
and Commissioner Sandoval.
Yes.
All right, motion approved. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, have you, Becky, have you heard from, Commissioner Cabrales?
She texted me and said that she has not heard back from.
Okay.
I tried.
Table this as an agenda item till January. I just feel like perhaps she was interested. I know we were sort of rotating and, it was the selection of which you.
Is it, can we nominate now and then vote in January maybe?
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy to continue if we don't know if she wants to,
you.
and I think you guys, Commissioner Sandoval is telling me he's not interested at this time, and I just don't want to nominate her. if She's not interested.
And I know she
Um,
missed last.
Yeah,
Um,
would that be okay?
Yeah, I think it is
You may
up to
prefer not to.
the commission to decide what they think is best. I do think that it would be acceptable to, you know, make a motion to nominate someone who is not in the room.
Yeah.
Obviously, you know, I think you probably want their feedback on that, but it, you know, would be acceptable to do that. I do think that if that was something that, you know, they were not interested or were willing to take on that role, we could circle back around in January and revisit that topic. But that being said, I think if you did want to continue this to a future meeting, I think what we could do is continue the roles of chair and vice chair for the time being. When we have the January meeting, we could bring this topic back. If there was a change in those duties during the meeting, we would essentially just do a handoff, you know, at that time and turn over the great responsibilities at that meeting.
Okay, I would suggest.
I make
we
a
do
motion
that.
that we continue the
Yeah.
chair and vice chair and postpone to our January meeting. And
Perfect.
then we'll revisit a vote. Maybe some.
Becky, just to
Cabrales.
confirm,
Let's see if she's still
is that your understanding as well, Becky, that that should be okay?
Yeah, oh, for sure. Mhm.
Okay, can we vote on that motion?
There's a second.
Who seconded? I'm sorry. Or
Oh,
did we get a second?
I'll second.
sorry.
Okay. All right, let's see here. Commissioner Emerson. Chair Gutierrez,
Yes.
Commissioner Pasternak,
Yes.
and Commissioner Sandoval.
Yes.
All right, thank you. Motion approved.
You. Okay, so we're moving into our meeting schedule for 2024. And I think Craig has that
Just trying to pull that
in
schedule
the
up.
packet.
Work plan meeting schedule.
Thanks. I'm used to two
I
screens.
guess so.
So on an annual basis, we just want to bring the schedule to you, have an opportunity to take a look, make sure that we can verify whether there's any conflict states. We try the best we can to work around the holiday schedule, and then we also just have to fit this in with the other boards, commissions that we're responsible for. Generally speaking, the dates that are shown here are the third Thursday of each month, unless there was a conflict with a unknown holiday. I think we caught them all here. Similar to what we did this year, we're proposing that we would be dark for the months of August and December. I think we're, you know, always open to changes, but generally speaking, we know that people, you know, they're on vacation, what holidays that happen during that time period, and it's just been difficult to get around for those months. So. The other thing I'd say is that, you know, we can always make changes or adjustments as needed. You know, if we're unable to get quorum, we can schedule meetings for a different day, a different week. We do not need, aren't required to fill these dates. We can always make changes.
Anybody have any concerns with the calendar? Good. All right,
Guess I wanted to like comment on the work plan for the year. If we can, are we?
right, that's on there, right?
Okay.
I think that's next. Okay, yeah, okay, we, then can I request a motion to accept the calendar as presented?
Second.
I missed the first, we were still screen sharing. Who made the motion? Andre, okay. And then Commissioner Sandoval. All right, Commissioner Emerson?
Yes.
Chair Gutierrez?
Yes.
Commissioner Pasternak?
Yes.
And Commissioner Sandoval.
Yes.
All right, motion approved. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, now, work plan.
Yeah, and maybe I'll make a couple comments before we dive into that. So I want to bring this early, I think in previous years, we brought this to you in January, but I wanted to kind of start a conversation with you and really just bring this as an informational item this month. The thinking here is that we bring this back to you in January after receiving any feedback that you have on the type of topics you'd like us to be bringing forward, the way that you'd like us to bring them forward. Making sure that, the content that we're bringing makes sense to you, taking into consideration any feedback that you have. And as I was drafting this, one of the things that we noticed is that it's possible we could be more efficient in how we bring you some of our annual program reports. So I started some conversations with our supervisor team to think about whether we should be bringing these on an annual basis or maybe every other year for certain things. There are key topics that we'd like to bring on an annual basis, routinely, but there are others that we feel are, if they're standing program areas, they may have some importance, and if you ever wanted to see them more frequently, you could. But it's generally, there's some repeat information there that may or may not be of high value to you. I think the other thing we're noticing is that we're running out of space in some of these months. We are bringing quite a few topics in a couple of months. I think generally we've got plenty of time on the agenda, but we want to make sure that we're just using it wisely. So I realize I didn't share the screen here, but bring that up. But this is, I think our first draft, kind of taking a look at some of the topics that we're expecting will happen in 2024 and we'd be bringing forward. I think the notable things here, in March, we're expecting that we may be able to bring forward a conceptual design for Peacock Gap play area. We did just finish up an RFP process to hire a consultant for that design project. We initially selected a consultant there and are going to be negotiating the agreement and hopefully finalizing that in the next month. That's the first time that we'd be bringing you some concept designs. I think also of note, we're currently working on the Terra Linda master plan. We've got an RFP we just published, and we're hoping to find a consultant that's going to be assisting us with that site-specific master plan in the coming year. So we're optimistic that we would be able to bring a draft of that plan, hopefully to the Park and Rec Commission sometime in early fall. I think tentatively we would have that scheduled for September. And optimistic we bring that to City Council in October and have a final plan there. I really appreciated the opportunity for the on-site parks tour we did last year. And I think that would be something that could potentially bring value, but we'd be open to suggestions of what parks or which sites you would like to see. And then we have quite a few other routine presentations that we bring on an annual basis. There are some agreements that we have with outside providers. So, for example, the Marin Bocce Federation and the Golden Heirs Older Adult Program, part of their responsibility for the agreement is to bring an annual report to the Park and Recreation Commission. And so any of those outside agreements, we would expect to schedule some time for them to come and present at least once a year. When I talk about the other types of program reports that I mentioned, things like, for example, the Movies in the Park informational presentation, or maybe the Terra Linda Community Center or San Rafael Community Center reports. We're trying to find ways to efficiently bring that style of information to you. And I think there's a lot of different ways we could approach that. So I think I'll leave it at that and turn it over to you for discussion or questions.
Well, I support some of the more, the presentations that might just be folks writing a paper, sending it to us and just us sort of reviewing it and say, sounds great, no changes. Unless it's something that we specifically want to discuss. So I think that's something that you could implement. I mean, it'd be good to have a discussion with the group here to say, you know, hey, we really want to review the Gardner's presentation, and I, you know, I love seeing people's work and I think they're great, but I don't want to have them take time out of their week, you know, when we're just gonna be like, hey, great job. And it's something that they, you know, don't necessarily need to do unless they want to do, so. I think it goes both ways, like whether it's like a way to recognize the group or whether, you know, we need to hear the information, but you can just do it through a staff report and say, you know, the group consents to review these reports and blah, blah, blah. But, I think, that's my comment. But the other comment that I feel like is missing is like, I want to know what is the accountability about the Parks Master Plan and how is the city investing in it? And, you know, how does the capital improvements and whatever the board, you know, the city council is deciding to allocate resources, support some of these long-term objectives that were set. And that's what I feel like, I mean, I know it's not necessarily our area of like, oversight, but I feel like I would like to have more accountability as to how the implementation of that master plan is and specifically the allocation of resources towards it, because that's something that I don't feel like we have a lot of oversight on, and that's okay, you know, we have our lane, but I wouldn't mind having at least more accountability about what, you know, where does the rubber meet the road as far as the park recommendations. So otherwise we have this great plan, we spent a lot of money on it, and here we are. You know, so. Sorry.
No, but that's a great comment. I'm curious, can I ask a question about that? What would you envision as the type of information you'd like to see in the work plan? Like, would you expect a quarterly report, monthly updates, a biannual type report?
You know, I think it's just that, you know, there's that, and there's just the fact is the parks part has gotten light over these last many years. Like, we don't have a parks presence, we have a biannual report, so it's sort of like that piece of like, what's happening with the parks? We get a lot of information about the recreation, but I think we just need to know, again, a report more often than every 6 months a year about the status of the parks. And then again, how is the plan aligning up with city resources to, you know, meet the goals of the community and the plan? Or is it just a nice plan sitting on a shelf? You know, sorry.
We hope not.
I love the quarterly idea. That seems like the kind of more better than.
Yeah, just a progress update and, you know, any ways that we can weigh in or, you know, just to keep that information flowing.
Perhaps from like a budgetary standpoint, like how the dollars spent are being, to your point, how resources that ultimately dollars are being spent as in accordance with that work plan or master plan, but I think that's.
Yeah, quarterly, I
context.
think would be great. Along with, and again, this parks maintenance report being more than once every 6 months.
You know, one of the things that we have talked about a little bit at a high level is, I know that in the past, there's been opportunities for to kind of take a look at where our department goals and objectives are and how those will align both from a program philosophy as well as the discipline that, you know, how are we spending the dollars to make sure we accomplish those goals and objectives, and kind of thinking about that in context of the Park and Rec Master Plan, that we have the recommendations that were made. How are we completing the work to complete those recommendations from a policy level as well as a capital level? And there may be an opportunity for us to maybe align some of those things and maybe bring some type of reports to you that really do, you know, just have some of these standing goals, objectives, take a look at the recommendations that have been made and, you know, what's the status update on some of those different topics. So I'm very open to that idea. I think that would be.
Carolina master plan is independent, right, of the, you know, so I think it's also good to continually communicate that out into the world, that as work starts on different parts and you know, that everyone's aware of where we are with process. Right. That would be critical.
I think to create that kind of opportunity to capture those status updates, I think is important. I think one of the things that I see up here when I look at this, because I'm so close to this, is that a lot of these projects that are occurring this year, Peacock Gap Park, the Terraform Master Plan, some of the work we did last year with changing the policy for the tennis courts and taking a look at other policy approaches, all tie in with the recommendations that we created with the master plan. But I think really making sure that we capture that, track it, and we use it as a metric to evaluate the success of this important. Those are great ones.
I would just say along those lines, we have that great presentation from the library board, the library
Foundation.
foundation.
That one, yeah.
And if we
tracking
can
them.
continue to kind of hear with their progresses with that plan. I realize it's kind of short term because it sounded like they needed to be launching it like now. So, but I would love to have that on our radar this year.
Definitely. Yeah, I think that, we've also talked a little bit about maybe opportunities in the future for maybe a joint meeting of, some of these different groups that have an opportunity to really collaborate.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's another point, again, is also when you're thinking about the bicycle and pedestrian safety plan, and like, there's intersectionality amongst all these plans, and yet we really don't know what they're doing, because again, we don't know what the city's plan is for capital improvements and parks. That doesn't get reviewed here, and again, it's not our lane, but informationally, it's nice to know. It might make more work for staff, but at the same time, it might make it more meaningful, in terms of our input and understanding of, what the direction is. As far as any intersectionality that could happen with these other efforts.
One thing I would just mention is our primary funding source for most of the capital projects that we'll be taking on will be Measure A. And so I think on an annual basis, we definitely will bring you that Measure A work plan for review and approval. Since that's our primary bucket of funding, that's generally where you're going to see most of our capital improvements that are taking place. So it's not everything though, right? I think we're always going to try to find other grant sources, other funding buckets. There are other projects that do take place in the parks that might not be utilizing Measure A funds or our public works department, but generally speaking, I think that's going to capture a lot of the. I definitely hear what you're saying, though. I think there's a bigger picture conversation about how do we track some of these metrics and making sure that we can look at it comprehensively, really look at it on how it aligns with all of the other past planning documents that have been created and all the other work that's being done citywide.
I have a newbie question around process and relating to the county, the work the county is. Like, do we ever hear from them as far as like the improvements that they're doing at the park level, like Brentwood, for example, or anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, I think we try to stay in touch and communicate. I think there's different funding mechanisms that each local agency is going to be using, but I do like on the county level, we've been in close touch with Murray County Open Space, and we definitely do try to find ways to collaborate. And been a couple conversations we've had about maybe some opportunities in the future. But that's definitely that. I mean, finding efficiencies and making sure that these projects all align and speak to one another is important. I think regionally, there is an interest in that. Our public works department, they sit in monthly, have a regional call with planners. They have an opportunity to talk with other consultants, other agencies at the local, state, and federal level to get feedback on any projects. So I know kind of on that level, from public works department, there's a lot of thoughts back and forth. Let's say on the Parks and Recreation side, have good networking connections. Some of our staff were just in Mill Valley today to talk about rec programming, have an opportunity to connect and stay up to speed on what's happening. That's less focused on capital, but we also have our California Parks and Recreation Society we're very involved in. So a lot of open forum communication there where ideas are bounced back and forth. So good networks, good connections, but I wouldn't say that we're, on a day-to-day or a week-to-week really kind of talking about it. Some of the different projects there, but good opportunities.
I was just thinking about redundancies and,
Right.
which ways, think about like corridors and things like that, or more like
Yeah, and I guess I just want to challenge, like, Measure A is not enough. I mean, we have a brand new stinking fire station, a brand new police station, and yeah, maybe they're bond funded or whatever, voter approved, but why isn't the city looking at the park master plan and resourcing what needs to be done to make the parks and the recreation library like a high quality, place? So, I mean, I'm asking you, Craig, as, the representative, what we can do to push that agenda, because, I've served on the commission for a while, and I'm happy to be here, but like, just to passively receive the information and not feel like there's any path to actually measure it, it's not gonna cut it, right? What was the thing for the library? How many millions of dollars?
Yeah,
But,
many.
and then how many did these, I appreciate the fire station and police station, and it's wonderful, but, about this piece.
Well, I think what I would say is that when we developed the master plan, there's a lot of different types of plans that agencies create. And we didn't want a plan that was going to be unrealistic and sit on the shelf. I think our goal was to create a plan that we knew we could realistically accomplish, given the capacity and resources that we reasonably had access to, but also have an aspirational, component to that. I've worked in other agencies where it's fully aspirational. There is no way that that agency would be able to complete the scope of work that was identified. And, thankful that I think our master plan really does identify a scope of work that we realistically think we can accomplish and within the means of Measure A funding. What we identified in our plan is that over the next 9 years of Measure A, we think we can get most of the capital projects done in the near and medium term that we identified. So, if you take a look at that plan and look at kind of where those priority projects lie, we do believe that we can accomplish that primarily with Measure A. Now, that does not include projects like the library, improvements. The Library Foundation right now, what they're looking at is a citizens-led initiative to have a new tax measure on the ballot. And I think for us to tackle any truly, I would say like structural changes to any of our facilities, like here at East Street, at the Carnegie Branch Library, at Terralinda Community Center, that master plan is to identify and recommend, for example, a new community center there. I think we're going to have to look at other funding mechanisms to pay for that. And those would require different levels of community support. So, what the Library Foundation is looking at would be a potential citizens-led initiative that would go to the ballot to propose that. And I'd be very interested to hear what what the residents here in the community had to say about that and whether they were supportive. Generally, it seems like there is favorable support for taking on some of these projects that are not just patch and fix, but really changing the way that we utilize these services in the community. And we'd be very supportive of that, but it's definitely a big picture question. Right? I think we're the master plan, I think, does a good job of capturing what some of the infrastructure repair and maintenance improvements are that we really need to take on to catch up because we're behind. But I think that if the community is interested in projects like the library project, we wouldn't have to look at alternate funding. So does that answer your question?
Yes, I mean, it's, but I also think that like 9 years is a long time, and again, a lot of deferred maintenance, so that's what I'm saying is not enough. I just don't think that, the county's Measure A, I think the city needs to consider how to finance stuff on its own. Not just expect that there's gonna be the park people, the library foundation people to start this, I think the city needs to invest in its own infrastructure for parks and recreation and not for these are outside funding sources. They're not coming from the city itself. So I'm just gonna be quiet. I'm done. So thank you.
Any other comments or feedback on this before we bring this back into where you can share other comments offline?
So do you want us to receive this, or do you want to make any changes?
you're welcome to receive this. You don't have to approve or accept it. We will bring this back in January, but, I think you could make a motion just to receive the informational report at this point.
Then I'm requesting a motion to see the draft partner information with plan report.
I'll motion. Second,
Right, Commissioner Emerson. Chair Gutierrez. Commissioner Pasternak
yes.
and Commissioner Sandoval.
Yes.
All right, thank you. Motion approved.
All right, great.
Yeah, I
Staff report, what do you got?
Well, I had a chance to talk about a couple of the things. I was gonna mention Peacock Gap Play Area. I already mentioned that. I mentioned the trail in the parking trees in the master plan. We're making progress there. I'm not sure if any of you had a chance to visit the Dia de los Muertos celebration at the World Community Center. It was really well attended, a great event. It was really fun to be there and to see the altars and the music and the community celebrations. So I just wanted to shout out Steve Mason, Stephen Rogers, Denise Vasquez down there. A lot of our staff that work at the community center did a great job of helping support that community event. So it was a lot of fun. I did some great photos on Facebook page if you want to check it out. There's also some video and other resources there. Tomorrow is the last day that the Chairland Pool is going to be open for the season. Had a great fall season. We continued the pilot program there. I got an email from Debbie today. She said that at 6:30 a.m. the pool was full. The lanes were being used. A lot of swimmers passed along their thanks that we were able to stay open a little longer this season. We're gonna reopen again in the spring. We're not sure exactly when the open date is going to be, but one of the tasks that we'll be taking on this spring is to assess this 2-year pilot program that we took on to determine whether we have capacity to offer extended season swimming on a more permanent basis. I think we're taking a look at a couple different criteria, a couple different ways of how we should be modeling that. I've had conversations with other public pools, other agencies, and get their feedback on how they could take a look at cost recovery models across different seasons. And we're excited to hopefully use the data that we collected over the past 2 years and really determine what we're going to do. So, but tomorrow's the last day, so if you want to swim tomorrow, you better just sit out. I think in last month's meeting, we had 2 of our program coordinators who presented, and then they said, we're on our way out of here. We're taking other jobs. We've got recruitments that just closed and interviews coming up in the next couple of weeks. So we'll be interviewing for Falkirk Cultural Center and the Community Gardens coordinator there, as well as for Terra Community Center and the aquatics programs. So we've got some good candidates. I'm excited about those interviews. Hopefully, those will go well. Hopefully, we'll have some new folks on board next year. November 20th is our next city council meeting on Monday. November 25th, the Holiday of Lights in Winter Wonderland downtown. December 6th is the Board of Commission's holiday party at Falkirk. You said 5:30, is we verify 5:30? December 8th, second Friday Art Walk. December 11th, we have a call for artists for a January jury art exhibit at Falkirk. It's called The Gathering of Color. Last night we had the public art review board and we received 26 proposals for exhibitors up there. We accepted 9 of those artists. So we're excited about that program area and bringing in new artists. So a really diverse group, eclectic group of art that's going to be showed in 2024. So excited about that, but there is still chances and opportunities to exhibit art up there. And then December 16th, the Center Hill Light April Parade is taking place. So some upcoming community events, which is great. Our next regular meeting here will be in January, but hoping to see you all at the Board of Commission Holiday Party. That's all I got.
Thank you. Commissioners, any reports on meetings, conferences, and/or seminars?
I was gonna talk about the public art review board.
Great, thank you.
I swear.
Yeah, it was great. It was good to go over all of that, and we, I think, landed in a good place. She's
Do not want to hear your,
Alright.
actually, I should joke.
she's not in the part.
My tone might not transfer.
Yeah, we I think we landed in a good spot where we were able to find 9 that each get their own room to present their offers. That's very diverse. So good of them. So.
And I got the library, I went to the library foundation meeting on Monday.
Oh, really?
So I got the update.
Great.
At the-
What is the update?
Well, we
Okay, probably what we heard.
To follow up
Yeah.
on what you had already heard, so.
Great.
Glad I get to
Yeah.
Hear about the plan.
Yeah. it's like hopeful.
Yeah.
I was just gonna say there's any way to urge or speed up a joint use agreement, plan, the pickleweed fields are gonna be closed around the time all the Santa Fe school campuses are closing for remodels, and it's wreaking havoc on all of these sports in the city. So if there's any time to be better coordinated, than we are today, and or short-term or long-term use agreements ironed out, I would urge the department to give it a go.
Yeah, also, I would say that, same with aquatics, although, talking to those people who are directly involved in that, it sounds like it's gonna be a problem, but I don't know what's been the master plan for, Carolina High School and, Center Falls High School, when those schools are shut down.
Saying, yeah.
You know what that schedule looks like?
It's supposed to start after the swim season, so late spring, early summer, the demo is supposed to begin.
Yeah. Yeah. It's good money being spent on
Yeah.
facilities, but
Yeah, it's gonna be
uh,
havoc in the
they're
meantime.
colliding, it's gonna be challenging. All right, well. Guess that's it, guess we're adjourning,
I think that's it.
7:14.
That's an hour.
It is an hour out, like one of my cars. Thank you.